The hosts on this program are riveting the nation. The views expressed by the host on this program are being quoted, anonymously, of course, by others throughout the mainstream press. The views expressed by the host of this program are providing others in the mainstream press with ideas for stories. As Ronald Reagan said, as long as somebody doesn't get credit, doesn't worry about getting credit, who knows what you can get done. Steering the debate, live and direct from the Excellence in Broadcasting Network, this is Rush Limbaugh, and the EIB Network's back at you, my friends. 3 full hours today. No interruptions because CNN has an exclusive on this town meeting. By the way, the kooks are up in arms about this one. The email is loaded today. Kooks suspect a giant conspiracy with CNN being the only network of record televising this town meeting. Comment on that in a moment. All right, folks, I know we left off yesterday with me at somewhat of a disadvantage. You might remember I had not seen in its entirety, nor had I heard in its entirety, the president's so-called pep talk at the Pentagon yesterday. I have now seen it. The most embarrassing aspect of it was the campaign-style appearance of the thing. You have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs introducing Cohen, praising Cohen, Cohen praising and introducing Gore, then Gore praising and introducing Clinton. And when something like that happens, it's supposed to be a build-up, and the next guy's a bit more energetic, and the next guy's even more energetic than that, and it built and built and built and built, and then there was a hole in the condom. The wind just went out of the sails, whatever you want to say, when the president got up there. And I'm going to tell you, here's all you need to know about it. If I could have saved us so much, but it's in a nutshell. I'm going to tell you here inside of 2 sentences. Bottom line, the president doesn't believe in the military application of force as a means of fixing what's wrong in Iraq. Doesn't believe it. Doesn't believe it's going to work. And is not enthusiastic about it at all. Pure and simple. That's what yesterday's speech means. They don't know what to do. They haven't nobody has the foggiest idea. I mean, this is not a criticism. Nobody knows what to do. The key here, the president, up until yesterday, everybody was talking about how we've got to go in there and wipe him out. We've got to eliminate his capacity to wage war with chemical weapons. There wasn't any of that talk yesterday. All there was yesterday was talk of diminishing his capacity. And then there was this, well, we'll go and bomb, and then a couple weeks later, we'll go back in again, and we'll keep going. He doesn't believe it's going to work. I'm not saying this, now you liberals out there, rein it in for a second. I'm not saying this has anything to do with Clinton and his past record or whatever it is in the war. I'm just saying as a man, as the president, as the commander-in-chief, I don't think he believes that a military, the use of force, military operation is going to work. That's all. That's exactly what it meant yesterday. And I, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who think that I'm disingenuous here, please don't. I mean, I'm offering this as serious analysis. I truly believe that's what. I don't think anybody thinks the use of force is going to work except the American people who apparently need a little bit more excitement in their lives besides the good economy. So they want to see the bombs drop. They can't wait for CNN and the green pictures at night with the tracers rising out of Baghdad and the sound of the bombs exploding. And then the stories from the front that, yep, we're wiping out everything they got. Ladies and gentlemen, have no quarrel with the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, being commander-in-chief. You people may have forgotten this, but I haven't. Remember when he was a candidate running for president in 1992? He was asked, because of his record of protesting America on foreign soil, he was asked about his ability to lead the military. And he said, no problem. And he reminded everybody that he had one time called out the Arkansas National Guard, and he had experience. And that's enough for me. So I'm not at all alarmed. But seriously, he doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe it's going to work. What Hussein wants, apparently, he wants no Americans or very few Americans on the inspection team. And the president wants as many Americans on the inspection team as possible. That's where this thing, from what I've been able to gather in my exhaustive research overnight, that's what all this really adds up to. And the inspection team is the focus of it. And unless the president can find a way to get Americans, and particularly a man named Scott Ritter, who's dug up most of the secrets that Hussein has, he's been kicked off the inspection team. That's what this Ritter guy found the goods, and so Hussein kicked the guy out, kicked Unscom out of there. And now the idea is to get him back on with another bunch of Americans on the inspection team, and Hussein says no, we say yes, and that's it. And if we don't get the guy back on there, then all bets are off. But he doesn't believe in military action. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing in our efforts to reach William Ginsburg. We were told yesterday that he would be unavailable. He was booked. He had an appearance on a sonogram. He was to appear last night on the arrival route radar at Reagan National in Washington. We tried again today, and we were told that he would be unavailable. This is Monica Lewinsky's lawyer. William Ginsburg, unavailable. He has a conference call with no less than Saddam Hussein today. Hussein is alarmed, and it wants to hire Lewinsky, perhaps as a personal lawyer. Hussein is worried about all the leaks and lies about all these chemical weapons that he says don't even exist, and these lies and leaks are coming out of Ken Starr's office, and he wants to hire William Ginsburg to look into it. Ginsburg, I understand, is in conference now with Nizadar Hamdoun, or whatever his name is, and they're trying to put together some sort of arrangement there. Now, on to Mike McCurry. You know, this was funny. I watched specifically a bunch of network television yesterday afternoon and last night when his program concluded, because I wanted to see what the experts would say about McCurry's interview with the Chicago Tribune. I wanted to see if anybody would get it. I wanted to see if anybody would have the chutzpah, the guts, to really spell this out, as I spelled it out for you yesterday. And some got close, but some didn't. And those who got close weren't willing to close the deal. They weren't willing to go ahead and make it fair. Let me just explain this to you, my friends, because, and this comes from my intimate knowledge and vast experience with knowing how the Clinton White House operates from the get-go. Remember the name Stan Greenberg? He was the pollster. He's the husband of Connecticut bombshell Rosa DeLauro, a congressperson from Connecticut. And he was the pollster in the first term, and he did a bunch of focus group polling. And what they would do, they'd go out across the fruited plain, gather groups of Americans, and ask them questions and find out what the American people responded to in terms of words. And they found out, for example, the American people didn't like the word extremist. Where do you think this coordinated effort to call the Republicans extremists came from? Came from Stan Greenberg's focus. This is not polling. This is not where you go out and ask people what they think of something. You go out with specific questions in mind, determined to elicit an emotional response from them, an emotional response that fits what you want. And you can do any kind of focus groups. I mean, people in broadcasting try to get me to do focus groups all the time to find out what you want to hear on the program, and I have rejected that from the time this program began. We still got some people that want to do that, and I constantly reject it because I've always believed do what's in the gut. I mean, if I don't know what you, if this is not about what you want anyway. This show is about what interests me, and insofar as it interests you, then we have a good time. If I ever lose touch with you and the fact that things that interest me don't interest you, then it's over, and I'll see you on the unemployment line. But until such time, I'm not going to get some focus group bunch in here and try to tell me that what the people in Oshkosh want to hear is this. So say a little bit of that on Tuesday, Rush. On Wednesday, say a little bit of that. But that's what they do in the White House. They don't have core beliefs. Remember all those conversations in the first term. The journalists would say, Clinton's still seeking his voice, still trying to find his voice. Where are the core values? Clinton even made speech, I got some core values. Well, they didn't have core values because they didn't want core values. They went out and polled the American people to find out what turned them on. What were the hot spots? What were the hot buttons? and in some cases the G-spots. But whatever it was, they went out and they found this stuff out, and they incorporated the very phrases that were most used by the respondents and participants in the focus groups into their policy statements. And that's how they effected this emotional bond with the American people. And that's how, man, this guy knows exactly what I think. He knows exactly what I feel. He's talking my language. I mean, it's smart. It's one way of governing. Forget your core beliefs. Forget leading people. Just give them what they claim to want. Talk the language there. That's the brilliance in some people's minds. It's also what's terribly wrong about this administration in other people's minds, because it's the exact opposite of leadership. It's, in one essence, it's letting the inmates run the asylum. It's going to the lowest common denominator and making it your policy. So that's what they do. So that nothing's changed. Greenberg isn't there anymore, but I don't think he may be, in fact. Who knows? I mean, Dick Morris comes and goes in the White House almost as much as Monica Lewinsky, and about the same sort of stuff. So I don't know if Greensburg is actually out of there or not. But I know how they operate. And I also know that as tight a noose as the lawyers have on the McCurrys and the Begallas and the Carvilles and all the other people that go out on these Sunday shows, they're not going to. McCurry, if this were a legitimate slip, if I'd say that if it is a legitimate slip, McCurry wants out. If that's not the case, then this was a trial balloon being floated and being focus grouped. Not by members of the press, not any of that, but by the American people. The polling units are out there saying, well, I'm sure you heard Mike McCurry's story. Maybe you didn't. Here's what McCurry said. What do you think of this version? I guarantee, and this is not the first one. There have been many others that have been floated out there. Most recently, Gene Lyons, who is a Clinton apologist from Arkansas, he's a newspaperman, was on Meet Depressed with Tim Russert on Sunday. In a moment, I'm going to let you hear what he said, in case you missed the program. That, too, was a trial balloon. Well, you might say, well, Rush, why are they doing it? Why are they doing it? My friends, and this is what nobody on TV said yesterday, this is the key to it. I have told you from the get-go that the president's durability in this, some might want to say survivability, but the president's durability is a good word. His strength here is only as strong as his approval numbers in the polls. As long as they stay up, he's safe. He's safe from action in the House of Representatives. He's safe from action to the press. As long as those approval numbers stay up, well, they're starting to plummet. They're falling a little bit, and the personal numbers, not approval, but the personal numbers, the negatives are coming up a little bit. It is no coincidence that as the approval numbers fall, and the numbers suggesting that more and more people are thinking that he's lying, it's no accident that McCurry goes out and gives this interview to the Chicago Tribune. You say, Rush, why the Chicago Tribune? It doesn't matter, folks. He could have gone out and spoken to the Wolverton Mountain Gazette, and it would have been all over the internet inside of 2 minutes after it happened. Doesn't matter anymore what news outlet you choose. You spread it around. But it might, in this case, maybe they wanted a focus group in Chicago, and it's going to be in print first there, and it's going to be talked about first there. Who knows? It's a wild guess, but it doesn't matter where it first appears. But it's a trial balloon, and they've got to do something to keep these numbers up. And not giving anybody any information is one of the reasons these numbers are beginning to erode. There's no question it's a trial balloon. Now, after having ascertained this, we've got to then discuss, are these trial balloons working? Are they good? Are they bad? And what do they indicate? Well, we can parse these things too and have a little fun at the same time, but give you an idea. What the bottom line conclusion is that the White House is establishing two things. A, this story is complicated, and B, odds are you aren't going to understand it or like it. And so now the skids are being greased here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, That's what's happening. There's no question that's what's happening. I'll give you a little added info. Let you hear Gene Lyons, and we'll parse McCurry as well. When we come back from this break, telephone number is 800-282-2882. Stay with us.
You're listening to the EIB Network. There's a new fragrance from Calvin Klein. It's seductive. It's dangerous. It's
presidential.
Presidential, the fragrance that makes a man think he's irresistible to women.
Welcome to our company.
Thank you very much for hiring me.
Great. Mind if I take my pants off?
Why, I never.
When you wear presidential, you'll feel immortal. You'll feel powerful. You'll feel unimpeachable.
Presidential.
Hi, do you come here often?
No, this is my first time.
That's terrific. Mind if I take my pants off? She wants me. Oh, yeah.
Wear presidential for a woman, and in turn, she'll love you for it.
Hello?
Hi, I met you at the bar the other night.
I don't believe this.
Say, can you hold on a second? I want to take my pants off.
Oh! Presidential.
The new fragrance from Calvin Klein.
Love those new sponsors. A presidential cologne from Calvin Klein, new to the EIB network. You notice how often now you hear this? Another example of leading, being on the cutting edge of societal evolution. Put this together as a bump on the program some months ago. Suggested it'd be great music for slow-motion sports highlights. Now it's everywhere. It's Nike, it's everywhere. On the Olympics, it's everywhere. Yes, my friends, thank you, thank you. Rush Limbaugh, the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. I think what I want to do, I want to demonstrate for you what I'm talking about the White House focus grouping and coordinating things. Now, in recent weeks during this scandal, various White House spear catchers have headed out to the Sunday morning shows, to the CNN shows, to the Fox News show, wherever they go. And we have discovered a constant refrain. And I want to explain to you, A, not only is it orchestrated, this refrain, but I'm suggesting to you that it comes from focus grouping, that they've gone out and they've found out that perhaps people are upset that all these things are not established yet. And so the word gets incorporated into the presidential response. And here's a sample of, you've probably heard these, and I don't know if you've associated with how coordinated this response is, but here's just a montage to explain what I just said.
One of my rules in this is that hypotheticals are the provinces of fools, and I am not going to enter into any kind of hypotheticals.
And you know I don't respond to hypotheticals.
Every time you put a hypothetical question to somebody, none of us should be answering those hypothetical questions.
Seems to me that sentence was a great example of the dangers of engaging in hypotheticals.
And that's a hypothetical question, as far as I know.
I think what I was proving was that only fools answer hypothetical questions.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now another example of a trial balloon. Gene Lyons, he's from some Arkansas paper, sympathetic to the president, was on Tim Russell's show, Meet the Press, on Sunday. Here's another trial balloon. They're out there. What do you think of this, folks? Do you think that this might be the explanation for the president's problems?
I don't think anyone would believe me if I said it didn't. Of course it does, but it's also very easy to take a mirror's eye view of this thing, look at this thing from a completely different direction, and take the same evidence and posit a totally innocent relationship in which the president was, in a sense, the victim of someone rather like the woman who followed David Letterman around. All of what's gone on would be consistent with such a thing. There's no evidence that I've seen so far that would indicate anything else. If you take someone like the president, who a lot of women would find attractive if he came to fix their garbage disposal, and you put him, make him the president of the United States, the alpha male of the United States of America, and you sexualize his image with a lot of smears and false accusations so that people think he's Tom Jones or Rod Stewart, then a certain irreducible number of women are going to act batty around him. And I'm not talking about her personally. I'm saying that's a prediction. And so there's every possibility with what we've seen that this could be an entirely innocent affair.
Feminists, did you hear that? And I'm going to play this again when we come back from the break. Because you feminists, do you understand how this White House is suggesting your president is looked at by women and how he... By the way, Letterman called the cops, Gene. The president could have called the Secret Service or any number of people to get Monica off his trail had he wanted to. We are back, El Rushmore, the all-caring, all-feeling, all-sensing, all-knowing, Maha Rushy. Phone number 800-282-2882. Those of you on hold, be patient. Be patient. We'll get to you here in mere moments. But I want to go back to Gene Lyons and play this thing. We're going to do a start-stop on this thing because it's amazing. And I'm going to give you another example of how these guys are floating these trial balloons. See how this... And I have to tell you, by the way, I think these trial balloons are bombing. I don't think they're working. You're going to see a lot more of them. They got to come up with something. They see, my friends, you got to understand, they wanted to wait for Monica Lewinsky to testify so they would then know what their version of the story would be. What does she say so they know what to lie about? But Starr's playing a brilliant game. Lewinsky can be the last person to go in there. It may not be till next week. Well, it definitely won't be till next week. Poll numbers are eroding. They got to say something. And this is how they're trying to get the story out. The whole purpose of this is to find out what the majority of Americans will accept. Gene Lyons is asked this question. Do you believe that the circumstantial evidence produced thus far against Clinton is enough to say that there was an inappropriate relationship between him and Monica Lewinsky?
I don't think anyone would believe me if I said it didn't. Of course it does. But it's also very easy to take a mirror's eye view of this thing, look at this thing from a completely different direction, and take the same evidence and posit a totally innocent relationship in which the president was, in a sense, the victim of someone rather like the woman who followed David Letterman around.
Stop the tape. Now, two things. President, in a sense, the victim of someone. Did not O.J. Simpson try this one too? Remember, it was Nicole that was beating him up. Now the president is a victim, walking around the White House, minding his own business with this woman hiding behind statues of ex-presidents, stalking him. The zillions of Secret Service, his wife, all these other people that are running around there can't do anything about it. She can't be stopped. And the president never once called the law, never once asked anybody to do anything to stop it. Letterman did. Letterman called the cops. All right, resume tape.
All of what's gone on would be consistent with such a thing. There's no evidence that I've seen so far that would indicate anything else. If you take someone like the president, who a lot of women would find attractive if he came to fix their garbage disposal.
Stop the tape! All right, I'm going to take you back, my friends. Thank goodness for you that I have the memory I do. You'll remember that the president came to New York early this year. He went, I forget what all he was doing there besides tying up traffic, but one of the places he went was Katz Deli. Now, in case you don't remember this, Katz Deli is a place where the orgasm scene was filmed in the movie When Harry Met Sally. Clinton went in there. You don't think they chose the place by accident, do you? And then the New York Post the next day quotes a female patron inside Katz Deli who was there when the president was there, who said something to the effect, "Man, what a babe. Man, what a hunk. I mean, this guy, if this guy came to fix anything in my house, I'd let him in a minute." Bingo! You think that this stuff just happens by coincidence or by accident? Okay, here's a female reaction. White House puts all this stuff together. Here's a female. Let's see if this flies. We know we got the soccer moms out there that love us. We know we got the soccer moms who think Clinton is doing more for their kids than their own husbands are. Let's see if this victim stuff and this babe and this hunk repairman, because everybody, women love repairmen, except for the plumbers who can't get their jeans up high enough when they bend over. But other than that, women love to repair people. Their husbands don't do that stuff anymore. They don't like, the repair people, and those are important guys. So it just is. It's just so easy for someone, if you're willing to be open and honest about, to see the pattern here that is going on as they attempt to find out what'll play. All right, resume tape.
And you make him the president of the United States, the alpha male of the United States of America, and you sexualize his image with a lot of smears and false accusations so that people think he's Tom Jones or Rod Stewart, then a certain irreducible number of women are going to act batty around him.
Stop the tape! Okay, now we get to the big one. This is feminists. I want you to listen to this. First, how is it that women are being portrayed when they are around the president? A, stalkers. B, helpless. They would let a repairman, a garbage disposal repairman, if he was Bill Clinton, in the house. He wouldn't even need a note. Even if they hadn't called the garbage disposal repairman, if a guy showed up to fix the garbage disposal and it was Clinton, they'd let him in. You got Clinton and Vernon Jordan out on a golf course discussing women, but they're not using the term women. They're talking about a slang term for female genitalia. And the feminists of America are forced to defend this. The thing about you feminists, this gave you a chance to shut people like me up, and you've blown it. You could have illustrated that you aren't partisan, that you really aren't a bunch of liberals, that you really do care about the things you claim to care about regarding the mistreatment and victimization of women. You could have jumped all on this and found this just as offensive as whatever Packwood was said to have done, or whatever Clarence Thomas was said to have done. No! Look at what you feminists will tolerate. You'll tolerate slang terms being used to describe you in a derisive way. That's not respect from the man with whom you've placed all your eggs in his basket. He and his cronies on a golf course describing you in slang terms of your genitalia. Now you're stalkers, 21 to 24-year-old stalkers. Now you are so, what's this, batty? That you would let Clinton come into your home and fix your garbage disposal because he's the nation's #1 alpha male? I mean, look, on one hand, you are nothing but sex objects, stalkers, unstable, maniacal, gee, stay away from them, you never know what's going to happen if you get too close to them kind of women. And then you become starstruck women who will ignore everything you know is right just to get close to this white-hot guy? All of this the feminists tolerate while the White House floats their trial balloons. And now, listen, resume tape here, Mike, and this is... I just want you to listen to the last sentence of what Lyons says.
And I'm not talking about her personally. I'm saying that's a prediction.
Yeah.
And so there's every possibility with what we've seen that this could be an entirely innocent affair.
Sure, she'll be totally innocent. She's stalking him in the White House. He's a victim. Nobody can stop her. It's an innocent affair. Well, I, my friends, am the epitome of innocence. I must take a brief time out now. We'll come back and go to your phone calls. 1-800-282-2882. Stay with us.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, I erred a moment ago when I said we're going to go right back to phones. I got two more things to do, and then we'll go to the phones. Maureen Dowd's column today in the New York Times recites yet another trial balloon that's being floated. Listen to this. The one White House aides have been quietly testing out on reporters is the troubled girl defense. The great feeler of all pain, who also bears the scars of a turbulent upbringing, was just being kind to Ms. Lewinsky because she was a child of a difficult divorce. Because Bernard Lewinsky's parents were German Jews who escaped to El Salvador, the White House even speculated to reporters about family Holocaust scars. The troubled girl defense, though, could segue into the troubled slut defense. White House aides note that her friends say that Monica arrived in Washington like a heat-seeking missile to seduce the president. But there's a flaw. If Monica was fragile and/or a stalker, why did the American representative to the United Nations and a most powerful lawyer in Washington serve as her personal headhunters? Of course, if evidence emerges that the mentor and his ward did have sexual encounters, Mr. Clinton would look horribly callous for exploiting the damaged young thing in a relationship that was lopsided in every way. It's the sort of outrage that would make feminists go berserk if there were any feminists left. Now, Mr. Sturdley asked me earlier in the program, do you think that there's a silver lining in all this? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you've even mentioned it yourself. Men and women are now talking to each other the way they used to before everybody got paranoid about sexual harassment charges. And I said, yeah, I think it is happening. And here's how I expressed that. I want to take you back Thursday night, last week, Washington, D.C., at the Mayflower Hotel. I was a speaker at a Lincoln Day celebration sponsored by the Claremont Institute. Here's some excerpts of the beginning of my speech, the opening remarks, if you will. I've been watching this scandal from afar. I don't spend the night in this town for fear that I will become affected by it. So I do once or twice a year when it's absolutely necessary, but most of the time I don't. I've been watching this scandal from afar, which is a safe place to be from it. And there's one aspect of it that I find that I think everybody has missed and has not really kept up with. Everybody's talking about the feminists and their absence here. They haven't condemned it. They're waiting and sitting back and trying to figure out what they have to lie about. When the whole story comes out, then they'll know what they have to lie about and set their course that way. But what's amazing to me is, where are the guys? Especially you men here and those of you out in the C-SPAN audience who are in your 50s, facing your midlife crisis. Well, we haven't seen the men react to this either. And if you have always wanted to strike up a little thing on the side with your secretary, go right ahead. The way has been shown you. And you can get away with it because it's nobody's business. If you have always seen that intern or that subordinate in your office and you wanted to maybe see how she'd react to some racy talk, go for it. You have been shown the way. And nobody can condemn you for it because they're all saying it's none of their business. The way has been cleared. Do you realize that 2, 4, 6 years ago, a man could not even say hi to his secretary or a female co-worker without having some fear that it might land him in court? And now, my friends, it's opened up. It's absolutely wonderful out there. It's just superb. Right on. I mean, it's about time we got back to the real things in this country. Now, I'm not through. For all of this newfound freedom and all of this newfound opportunity that we men now have in this country, I think we owe a debt to the president. I would like to suggest that all of you men immediately think of sending at least a week's salary to the new Clinton Legal Defense Fund. Far more worthwhile than the amount of money you'd blow in a week you'd spend in a week at a singles bar. Sharp dressed man. Yeah. ZZ Top on the EIB network. Now to the phones to Venice, Florida. Janet, hello, and I really appreciate your patience.
Well, thank you, Rush. Good afternoon. Rush, in reference to your comments about this trial balloon and the focus group business, Clinton's people can float this kind of scenario about Monica Lewinsky and a victim status for this president in regard to her. But when more women are revealed during the Paula Jones trial, or even before that starts, won't all this fall apart? I think Ken Starr has a smile on his face a good part of the time, and I think he knows a lot.
Oh, I don't know that any of this is going to work. I'm not commenting on that. And in fact, I do think that all these various balloons are being popped. Nobody's buying it. I mean, look at Michael Kelly today in the Washington Post just nails Lyons. Maureen Dowd comes up with her own trial balloon she's heard and blows it out of the water. I mean, none of these trial balloons. McCurry had to blame his trial balloon on a lapse of sanity yesterday. They're not working.
They're not working.
I don't. But at some point something might. I don't know about that. I'm just trying to explain to people what really is going on. The key is the polling numbers are falling. The American people are beginning to have some questions because they haven't heard any version from the White House. And so they got to get something out there to keep these numbers up, maybe get them back up, and they're grabbing at straws.
Well, I know your frustration because I have a friend, and I'm trying to convince her. She still is open-minded about it, and of course she's not as informed. She doesn't read a lot or listen to you, of course, but it's frustrating to try to convince someone that they should change their standards for this guy when they wouldn't do it for their own husband, as you told many times.
Yeah, but that'll happen. I don't think they're not going to do it because you tell them to, because I tell them to. We're not going to persuade them. This is personal, and it could be something as simple as this. How many Americans, let me just ask you, Janet, a question, how many Americans, married Americans, do you think right now, what percentage of married people are having affairs?
Of men and women in general. I would say maybe about 35%.
All right, so there's 35% who are automatically not going to condemn this because they'd be hypocritical. And so they're going to sit there and say, well, it's private and personal, it doesn't matter, it has nothing. They don't look at themselves as bad people or having affairs, they're probably still doing pretty well at their jobs. So you've got that. There's a lot of this is very personal. That's why it's going to come down to whether or not he lied to him. And until that happens, in fact, I'm not frustrated. I'm having time of my life here because I know that despite they'll listen to this or they'll listen to you and they'll never admit to you that what you're saying makes sense to them. But you know that when they slink off to the privacy of their cubicles, they're thinking about it. But that's, you may never know. Persuasion is a funny thing. You probably, Janet, persuade a whole lot of people you don't know. The pride thing, they're not going to show you that you're the reason that they've changed their mind about anything, even though they may have. So don't look to be satisfied by those kinds of signs. You got to take comfort, confidence, and solace in the fact that you know you're right. And that should be enough for you. It is for me. Thanks much for the phone call. Big break coming up. Back in just a second.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the Rush Limbaugh program, and it is time for a huge announcement. America has another man. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, another man has entered the world. My trusty aide-de-camp and chief of staff, Kit H.R. Carson, and his wife, Teresa, are now the proud parents of a healthy baby boy, 8 pounds plus. Born at 12/29 today. Name is John LeRae Carson. Is going to be nicknamed Jack after Kit's actor uncle. Jack Carson, he acted in the 1940s and 1950s. HR wanted me to tell everybody that he is proud to add another man to the vast right-wing conspiracy. Everybody's doing fine. Everybody's thrilled. We couldn't be happier. I asked Marta the other day, I said, what do you get a new parent? What's a good gift for a new parent? She said a noose. And so I'm out there looking for a noose. That will be my personal gift. We in the office will give a combined gift of quality and style. We're all excited for Kit and Teresa. John LeRae Carson, born at 12:29 today, and the nation's men have had an addition. Paul in Boston, hello, and welcome to the EIB Network.
Hi, Rush. Thanks for having me on today.
You bet.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. I just wanted to agree with you completely about the test balloon theories. This is like what happens when Hollywood makes a movie and they have test endings. You know, how do you want the movie to come out? This is what the Clinton administration is doing to us right now. They're trying to find out what ending will be most palatable to the American people. You know, which one will offend us in the least. This is just a movie ending they're trying on us here.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks very much for your phone call. Nice to have the audience agree with me, ladies and gentlemen. I know many of you as well do. Some of you wouldn't dare admit it, but you know. And in fact, some of you probably, so what? So what? He's just trying to keep the American people happy. Yeah, but then you say, well, what about the truth? Nah, the truth. Who cares about the truth? This is a perjury case. Nobody gets prosecuted for perjury in a civil case like this. Who cares? It's no big deal. The truth doesn't matter, especially in sex matters. What are you talking about, Rush? By the way, one of the Clinton's big legal defenders, a man named Stephen Gillers, has written in the New York Times today that, oh, yes, people are tried for perjury in civil cases. I have details coming up, plus more phone calls. Stay with us.